morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today at the Jetty. We are honored to host all of you here and to meet some new faces, and would like to welcome you with open arms here. We are an entrepreneurial center. We have shared office spacing. We've got cubicles. We also offer 2 conference rooms for rent. That's also complimentary with your membership. And plenty of room for spaces to host events like this. So thank you so much for coming in today. And if you have any questions about our space here at the Jetty, please just let me know. We are here for you. I'll introduce to you my boss, the owner of the Jetty, Mr. Tom Patterson.
Thank you, Kelsey. Tom Patterson, CEO of the Jetty and Takara Blue. We welcome all of you guys here today, and whomever is watching this nationally and internationally, welcome to Pensacola, Florida, sailing capital of the New World. We appreciate all the attendance, and Takara Blue is the first and main tenant of the Jetty, and we're involved in electronic tracking and monitoring systems and safety and navigation systems for boats. And we're really happy to be hosting this event for you guys today. Dr. Tim Reichel, this is your event, so I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
Thank you, Tom, and thanks, Kelsey. My name is Tim Reichel. I'm the president of Sail Pensacola. Sail Pensacola was incorporated in February as a nonprofit to orchestrate a range of initiatives that are both sailing and marine technology in origin, designed to establish Pensacola as the high-performance sailing center and marine tech center of North America. Our initiatives include making sailors, making races, and making jobs. Now, one simple way to make jobs in Pensacola is just to simply attract companies in the high-tech sailing and marine tech industry to town. Just have them move here. If we can get them here, we have an added benefit. We can have the products that they make on the ground in Pensacola before anybody else in the U.S. So potential sailors and marine tech interests can walk by these products. They can walk by the boats, the foils, the sails, the electronics, and they'll be exclusively available here first in Pensacola. That is part of our goal, a part of our methodology to establish Pensacola as the epicenter of marine tech and high-performance sailing in Pensacola. How are we going to help these companies get started? Most of them are not actually in the United States right now. Most of them are in Europe. We're a little bit behind the curve in terms of the technology and development of high-performance sailing, and certainly with a lot of the high tech, we don't have it in the U.S. So we want to get these companies here. How can we help them? Well, this event is really the first part of that. We've devised a thing called the Sailing Footprint Accelerator. That is going to be a method to accelerate bringing these companies from not domestic locations in the U.S. to get them started here in an efficient and economical way. The simplest product of that effort is what we're going to do today, a presentation by a company that has a great product that we want to see develop in the U.S. market. The next level is to create a footprint for their product, to have it on a showroom floor so sailors and consumers can walk by it, touch it, feel it, and see it. The next level from there is to activate an ambassador. You might say a brand ambassador. So that is going to be a sailor that can take potential customers of these products out on the Pensacola Bay and demo them in the effort to make a sale. That ambassador program is going to be developed under Sail Pensacola, but the ambassador will get special training by each of the brands so that they are equipped to represent the product. The final footprint, the final goal of that project is to accelerate the development of these companies' presence in the U.S. market, and that probably means establishing a storefront footprint. So we're basically improving economic development by bringing these businesses to bear in our community. Ultimately then, down the road, perhaps because of our increasing sophistication on manufacturing, they might choose to manufacture their product here as well. And that really is what we're after in terms of creating more job service. We have the greatest sailing asset in the United States of America. People are calling all the time to try to find a footprint to get in here. To get this started, the first conversation I had actually was really accidental. I reached out to Herve at Befoil and asked him, I was actually bold, I was asking, when do you think you might want to build your 16-foot catamaran in the U.S.? And Harvey said, well, we're getting our boats built in Portugal and we like our manufacturer, and so that's probably not our first goal, but our first goal is to get a footprint in that market. And that led to this discussion. So Harvey agreed to come to Pensacola and see our footprint here as it is now and see our water line. We just did a tour of that. I am proud to introduce him. He is the strategic member of Befoil's executive team, and he's going to give this presentation today. I want to give him a little token of our appreciation, even though he is no doubt a big fan of France's team in the America's Cup. We're going to send him home with a little bit of brand interference with the American Magic logo, and he'll have to be doing some advertising for American Magic in France. Harvey, welcome. It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Herve Gindre, and as Tim just said, I'm on the board of Befoil and helping them with international development. And after 37 years in the electronics industry in Europe, Asia, and the US, about 5 years ago, I was given the chance to combine business with my passion, sailing. So it's better late than ever, but it's been a great ride so far. And the day started on a very good note. I was given an outstanding tour of the bay by Tim and Tom. I mean, it was I'm very impressed by the location, the facility, and as I was saying, it combined some of the benefits of the two big French sailing areas in one spot, and it's free exercise. And so very impressive. And then on the top of it, the French Challenge Orient Express won the first race ahead of American Magic, so it's good. I mean, the other challenges are behind. I'm going to talk about the Befoil 16 Carbon today, and give you an overview of the company and the team. We're not Hobbycat or even NACRA. We're a very small company, and I think it's interesting that you understand where we're coming from and where we're going. We'll do a deep dive into the Befoil 16 Carbon, which is not our first boat and a last boat, but that's our flagship product right now. We'll talk about the racing team, which is the core of our business development activities this year, where we're going in terms of business development, and we also have an ambassador program, and I'll share more about it. So the company, we are a startup from Lorient, fully funded, and specialized in design and commercialization of foiling catamarans. Right now we are fabless, so we're doing assembly, manufacturing in Portugal, and buying masts and spare parts from France. I mean, eventually we'll go at some point into manufacturing. Lorient is one of the France's main sailing cities, and it's the first European offshore racing hub. As you could see, they built the base on a former German submarine base from World War II. They tried to scrap it in the 50s. They couldn't. They would have blown up the whole city, so they decided to use it as a museum and a sailing base. There are now about 50 different sailing teams, most of the IMOCA teams, most of the Ultim, the 120-foot catamaran, the Ocean 50, the Mini, and all the boats. Most of the boats are there, and so is the infrastructure and design and manufacturing for sailboat. We started our adventure designing flying boats in 2017. Our first boat was a rotomolded boat for sailing school. I have to recognize it was not a great success. We kind of reached the limit of rotomolding, and the boat for a foiler was not stiff enough. And so we decided to build a second boat, which was designed by a very famous architect firm, VPLP. They built some of the winner of the Vendée Globe and other races, and elected 2021 Foiler of the Year. And at some point, the mold was won, and so we had the opportunity to either build a new boat or or use the mold, and we decided to upgrade the boat and go for a carbon boat and go with a slightly different concept, and I will talk about it in a minute. This is the team. Ben is a serial entrepreneur, president, and founder of the company. He's been in e-learning 20 years ago and had a couple of companies that he sold. He's really driven by innovation. He's the grandson of a pioneer of aviation. Mr. Magnard invented the first glider plane in France in 1909, and his father was building submarines, so it was natural for him to make sailboat flying. We'll talk about Eric and Emmanuel later. They are multi-hull champions and a racing team, but very involved in the operations. Antoine is the designer of the boat. He is the international secretary of the F-16 class and the president of the French F-16 class. And he also was involved in the design of the ETF-26 and the Flying Phantoms, which are slightly bigger foiling boats. So a lot of experience there. And the board is interesting because in a startup, the board has to be very operational, and we are. Christian is the ex-Renault Sport president, and he led Renault to 11 World Championship titles in Formula One, managing some of the greatest drivers in the world. So he's very much of a team driver. He's 80 plus, but has tons of energy, and he's the one we have to slow down in the team. Igor is a marketing communication person and also a serial entrepreneur. Frederic brings the money. He is on an investment fund that is specialized in marine investments in France. And Antoine was in an automotive OEM company and has also a lot of strengths in the operations. This is the concept of the boat. So the way we define the boat as a team, when we said we need a fully convertible foiler F-16 class catamaran, we need to have the best designers to make sure we don't miss our target. First-class materials, no compromise to safety, reliability, and performance in the process. So what we built is a boat that is easily convertible from foiler to F-16, less than 30 minutes. It's stable and accessible, so T-foil and T rudders, 4 points of foiling was the obvious choice initially. Has to be very ergonomic, so it's been designed by sailors. Actually, Eric and Emmanuel were really part of the design team. Very safe, so the hull design, there's a lot of round shapes, there's a lot of, the T-foils are good elements also of safety. Broad crew range, single, two plus one children, and you can see on the right, this is a 10-year-old foiling the boat on Lake Geneva in June. So we did trials, and this kid wanted to sail on his own, so we took the tender boat and we had him sailing for 30 minutes. And there was 7-8 knots of wind, and he got the boat off the water, and there's a little video clip, and he handled it very well. And on the second one, it's Eric and Emmanuel, cheering the photograph during a race. So obviously they are very relaxed about sailing the boat. And it's we wanted a fast foiler, 20 knots plus. The boat is designed for 30 knots. Taking off in 7-8 knots of wind. Our previous boats were taking off in 10-12 knots of wind. And an F-16 class winner. So kind of a lot of compromise, and going from concept to design, we went for a common high stiffness platform, and we started with optimized hull design for both foiling and Archimedean without making compromise. Carbon hulls and aluminum beams. The beams are octagonal and they are inserted into the platform exactly like the Flying Phantom. We have our own mast, so we designed our own mast. Most of catamaran are taking off-the-shelf mast. It's a 28 carbon mast. Competition wanted to buy it, and of course we're not selling it. Viper Godal and others, after the races, they came to Emmanuel and Eric and asked, you have a great mast. It's very stiff, but it's also bent where it needs to. Can we buy it? Large range of foil tuning. So for those who are foiling, in terms of rake, it's -4 degrees plus 7. In terms of cant, it's 0 plus 6.5. And automatic flight height adjustment. There's a little sensor in the water in front of the boat that you could see here, this red line. And it's around 2.5 to 3.5 feet height, flying height, depending on the conditions. A compensated rudder, also with adjustable rate, so -2 plus 3. And the idea is you can have the boat sailing nose down, so it limits dragging on the back. And you'll see a picture of the boat foiling. It's actually foiling nose down, and that you do that by adjusting the rake on the rudder. Deck sweeper sail. So we were talking about aerodynamics this morning. Was part of optimizing aerodynamic. Same set for both foiler and F-16, so you don't need to change sail. And a very ergonomic deck with roll yard and controls in separate and optimized locations and all our cannon. So we decided that we would go for first class quality. So that's the foiler spec. I already mentioned the carbon T-foils and rudders. The main sail is 161 square feet, and the jib is 40, and the code 0 is 188. There's a leg version, which is 50% more sails area, and the weight is 297 pounds. So it's what we needed actually to be able to take off in 7-8 knots of wind. Our target weight was to be less than 140 kilo, and we've reached it. The boat is more or less at its optimum weight. And you could see the boat foiling actually in the Caribbean in Martinique Island in January. This is a little clip of the foiler during the foiling week. And you could see the stability. The guy is actually not used to the boat. You could see the trapezist position is a little, he's sitting, but the boat is very, very stable, and it's at probably between 15 and 19 knots. You could see the little sensor in front that is adjusting the foil flap to make sure the boat flies at the right height. And you could see the helmsman is very relaxed. He's going to check his GoPro at some point. I sail on the boat, and I can tell you after 5 minutes you're very comfortable. It was going so fast that the tender couldn't catch up with us to tell us that it was the end of the trial. So this is the F-16 class specification. So obviously you bring the foiler on the beach, you take the foil out, and you bring carbon fiber dagger board that have optimized shape, and you could see the profile is actually aligning with the mast. And it should minimize drag. And the rudder also has an optimized shape and profile to reduce the wet area and drag when the boat is heeling. And this are some of the things that makes the difference with the other F-16. The sail area are defined by the F-16 class. So as I said, same mainsail, same jib, but instead of the big code 0, which is 200 plus square feet, you have 188 class spinnaker. And the weight is slightly less, 286. We believe it's the only boat that is at the minimum of the class weight. Nobody has been able to reach, maybe now others are trying, but all the other boats are 5 to 6 pounds over the minimum class weight. And this is actually during the European Championship look at the boat behind. They're going to try to point as much as Befoil is pointing, and they're losing speed. You could see that at some point they're going to go below, and the boat is really pointing very well. I think they're actually in the lead. It's one of the leg, and they lost to the second with the same number of points, and there was one more day left, and they were confident they were going to win the last day. The race got cancelled, and the difference in the championship was made by the results of the last race. So unfortunately, they finished second, and it was unfortunate because they led all the championship. Had one bad day and one day to recover. They got cancelled, but it'll be next year. So Eric and Emmanuel are the racing team. They are both in their 30s. They are not professional racer. Eric is an entrepreneur, and he's helping us with the operations. They're both VIP Forward brand ambassador. VIP Forward is a big catamaran garments and accessory firm in France. They were both in the Goodyear racing team, which is the Viper team. They both were Viper World Champion in 2014 and F16 Vice Champion, and won the European several times, and obviously got F16 Vice Champion with Befoil. Eric was also on the Flying Phantom Extreme Sailing Series, the Red Bull Series, with former French sailor Yvan Bourgnon, and he was a 49er Olympic racer in 2006, 2007. So they've won almost every race that can exist in catamaran in Europe, and we expecting them to keep doing it with Befoil. They actually were involved in the design of Befoil to be a one-day F16 world champion. The World Championship is next year, and they had a great year. So they were the French champion early in the season. They won the national F16 and Eurocat Red. What's interesting is the boat has won both races around 2 or 3 buoys, as well as long distance red. And in the long distance red, it was far away from the other F16, and he was sticking with the F18 and F20 boats. There was actually a red where they finished 4th in real time in the middle of the F18 and F20. So it's a very fast and very stable red boat as well, which is interesting. I don't know how red is popular in the US, but in France there's a trend towards catamaran red and long distance racing with these boats, going from one spot to the other. And so the boat was also designed for that. As I mentioned, he was a European vice champion with the same score than the champion in Lake St. Croix in France. So this is a view of, this is the black boat here. I think it's one of the races that, unfortunately, we don't have the music. There's kind of an exciting music, but then I can talk. I think it was about 40 boats, and it's a little far away, but I think at some point the drone is going to come closer to the boat. Yeah, here's a closer view, and look at the jibe up, and jibing to the line. I think it's a race, one of the races they won. They won 5 out of the 9 races of the European Championship. So we have actually a couple of teams, including a team from Spain who want to buy the boat for the 2024 season, and we would love to have more than one boat. So that was So that's the racing program. It's, as I said, it's the core of business development. It's a mix of races and foiling events. So this year we were at the foiling week on Garda Lake. We were invited by Luca, and we did, actually we had the boats sailed by ladies, and what's the name of this? Magenta Project. We had the Magenta Project from the UK using the boat for 2 days and bringing ladies and to show how easy it was to handle the boat. There are foiling days in France also in 2024, and a couple of red. We're going to go to the Swiss National in 2 weeks from now. It's Switzerland is a very important market for us. A lot of lakes, very important F-16 class. And next year, all the races are geared towards preparing us for the F-16 World Championship in Lake Garda. We've heard that good old Viper is sending 10 boats to make sure they win the championship, so it's going to be a tough fight. Business development. So right now, we're focusing on Europe through a sales rep network. We don't have distributors yet, and we think the boat is a little too technical and high-end for distributors, so we may find some niche distributors, and we're really building on the 2023 campaign and the foiling demonstration. We want to build on the Pensacola initiative to develop US market. We sold a 2021 boat in the US, and so we have a distributor set up in the East Coast. But obviously, we could also sell the boat direct to anybody interested. And we are targeting distributors in the US, but also in Japan, which is an interesting emerging foiling market. It's like they're trying to bypass traditional sailing. And obviously, Australia and New Zealand are big markets for us. We're here to stay. So we have a roadmap with a fiberglass version of this boat with lower price point, probably aluminum mast and aluminum foils, or verticals, and maybe carbons horizontal, slightly simplified. The idea being to be below, 30, maybe even around 25,000 US for this boat, and keep the same overall characteristic for people who don't want to race or who want to race locally. And we have in our plans a 11-foot foiling catamaran. We've made experiment with canting rig, and so we're looking into a couple of options. Benjamin has some ideas about, he's dreaming of a foiler with canting rig, so that may happen at some time. But the idea would be a boat that is very light and would very much look like a foiling laser, easy to handle for one adult and a child. Not a moth, really a very accessible boat. We want to start a foiler 16 class, and obviously with Antoine, who is on the international class, we're well positioned, and we're looking into a couple of opportunities of having Befoil foiler circuits. One in China, there's a project of an ocean race between China and France, an offshore ocean race for multi-hulls, and we would run a Befoil circuit in China. That may or may not happen. And we are looking also into the Middle East, where there's some efforts in sailing in a couple of areas, Oman and Saudi. And obviously, keep racing. It's a 2-year program, and the goal is to win the 2024 World Championship. So, the ambassador program. What we realize is that for high-end boat like Befoil, we need a couple of ambassadors. We need people that are spokesmen for the boat, and so we want to make special efforts for that. So we have a special price for a fully option boat of $35,850, excluding import taxes, which are relatively low from the boats we've exported in the US, and transport. Transport is obviously the interest would be to load a couple of boats into a 30 or 40 foot container to minimize the transportation cost. Otherwise, it's in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. We've exported one boat for one person 2 years ago, so we have some, and we made some recent estimates because now he wants to upgrade to the Befoil carbon. And he's, by the way, selling his boat for a very good price. So there's a 2021 boat for sale in New York State. We would provide free technical support from our racing team, video, or maybe could be coming here in the US, and discounts on spare part. The requirements, obviously, it's a limited deal. So we have 5 boats we want to sell at this price. And then it'll go probably 25–30% up. And we require from the ambassador to be available for selective sales trials, obviously compatible with his agenda, and provide feedback to the design and racing team, and digital content, participate maybe in a couple of marketing programs. These are the contacts. I mean, if you are interested, obviously, I'm the business contact here in the US, and I can make sure you get connected with anybody in the company. It's relatively easy. It's a 5-person company, so not a big deal. Eric is helping us with racing operations, and you have his contact information. We have a business MBA marketing internship, who's done a fantastic job for us, and it can be also a point of contact. And Antoine is a point of contact for design, and also F-16 class or anything related to racing with the boat. And yes, you can see this is another contact point. This is I love this picture because it shows exactly how the flying height gets adjusted. And on this one, the sensor is just getting on the top of the water. Thank you. Questions?
Anyone?
Questions, comments? Yeah.
Have you considered any other sort of sensors on the front of the boat?
Sorry?
Have you considered other sensor options to measure the distance from the bottom of your boat?
Yeah. Is Eric on the line? Can Eric respond to that? Have we?
Yes.
Eric, est-ce qu'on a considéré d'autres options de capteurs que l'option actuelle, l'option
ouais, pour les baguettes en carbone. Ok. Ouais, on a testé d'autres baguettes, mais là on a fait une forme spécifique, une petite comment on appelle ça, une petite feuille en plastique au bout, qui est optimisée pour la traînée. Yes, it's an optimized sensor. It's a specific shape to reduce the
drag.
Drag. Yes, exactly. Reduce the drag, and it's the most shape in this boat. The best shape for this type of boat.
Any thought about electronics?
Yes, exactly. It's probably an evolution for the future. And the foil, it's designed to the future because the mast of the foil is a little uh, uh, yes, too high for the measurement and it's the future. It's it's a plan for the future, and it's very difficult to testing and the process, and the same problem of the big boat on America's Cup. So, but the investment is very big.
So did you? So look at two electronic sensor, but the height is a little too high right now, and it's kind of like a big investment for maybe minimum improvement. We're very satisfied with this system. I mean, it's it's on the roadmap, but it's not there yet. And from all the manual system we've tested, it's the best, and it minimizes the drag.
Yes, exactly. It's simply, and it's very good. The simply solution, and the solution, it's easy to adjust, but the technology with electronic, it's not easy for the moment.
Herve and Eric, talk about the conversion and the amount of time it takes to convert from foiling to class mode.
Did you understand the question? It's about how easy is the conversion from foiling to F-16 class, and how long did it take you when you did it?
Okay, and at the moment the foiling boat, it's not class legal. Just the mode, the normal mode, and at the future I don't know. Okay, and the time to convert to foiling boat with a dagger board, foil to dagger board, and rudder with T on the rudder, normal rudder, it's approximately 30 minutes.
Is
And
the rudder, I guess, the rudder must be a separate, completely different rudder than the class compliant rudder. Then it's a T structure, so it's a completely different
It's
rudder.
completely different rudder.
I see. And does the stanchion that supports the rudder, does that have to be changed as well, or is it just inserting a new board into that?
It has to be changed as well.
I see.
But
it's the same shape, exactly the same shape, the same profile on the rudder with T and a rudder. It's the same shape of the dagger board on a foil. It's the same box. No problem. It's easy. No change. The box. It's important, and it's the first boat all the world. It's the same shape. On a foiling, the first time, yes, it's the first time it's the same shape.
yeah, it's a unique foil box. You know, you don't need to change anything. Just pull out the foil and insert the dagger board. And on the rudder, it's a rudder block. It's the same rudder block. And actually, we patented the design because it required a fair amount of engineering. And you just take the rudder out and bring the F-16 class rudder.
And the adjustment on adjusting the wand for the flight height, is that is that system fairly robust, or does it have to be recalibrated before each session of sailing once you convert back into foil mode?
So what he just said, and we'll ask for calibration after, he said it's very easy to adjust while sailing, and he think it's even easier than an electronic system. And so why upgrade? I don't know about calibration. Can you talk about calibration of the sensor? If you need to recalibrate it or frequently, or if it's pretty stable as a system?
The calibration is during the build to the build, and the calibration it's very easy. It's up and down only, and just maximum or minimum. It's two indicators, and the indicators it's easy. It's just blocked. Bloqué, c'est bloqué.
It's blocked. Wait,
It's blocked.
it cannot probably it cannot move.
Cannot move. Yeah. And another specification, it's the up and down. It's the distance of the water. It's to adjust up and down la longueur. Length. Sorry, length.
You can adjust the length.
We can adjust the length. Yes.
So easy to adjust, fully latched or fully locked, so it doesn't go off
Yes.
sync. Free position,
sorry.
you said flying height, or you have more more range?
Est-ce que tu as plusieurs
Il y a plusieurs positions pour d'ajustement, ou c'est juste 3 positions?
Pour la hauteur,
Oui.
en fait, c'est un réglage en continu qui revient sur le trampoline. C'est juste un boot. Donc, on prend juste à la main et on vient ajuster la longueur du palper. Donc, ça se fait en direct très facilement du bateau.
So it's just a setting line, and you can adjust the height as much as you want in between two limits, upper and lower limits. Very simple.
Exactly. Yes. Very simple.
Another question?
How easy is the boat to get on and off the beach in foiling mode?
Hey, that's a question for you. Est-ce que c'est facile de partir et revenir en mode foiling? Départ et retour de plage.
Okay. And with start on the beach, it's easy because the foil it's blocked with trapeze. Trapezes, and to adjust with the trapezes, and after on the water with a good good height, you
We're losing.
you take off the trapeze, and for the rudder, it's a cam with it's easy to adjust the rudder because it's friction.
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 Yeah.
Friction. It's a friction, and rapid attach.
So it's literally a clip like ski shoes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a plastic clip, and then you can get the rudder up, and same with the foil, and so you bring it under the hull, And what you require is some staff on the beach. You know, one is enough. But what I've seen at the foiling week is we were rotating people all day long for 30 minutes sail, and some we would do offshore with the tender, some we would come back, and it's relatively easy. It's also the benefit of T-foil.
Yeah.
It's
D'accord, complètement.
Does the boat come
It's,
with new sets of foils?
no. We're thinking about L-foil at some point.
I meant foil and F-16 class.
Oh yeah.
Does every
Oh,
boat
it's
comes
a-
with all 8 foils?
So a fully optioned boat, yes. I think you can buy an F-16 or you can buy a foiler.
Gotcha.
And then there is the dagger board or the rudder are an option. When we're calling about the ambassador program and the fully option price, I mean that's the whole package.
So what's operable wind range? You had said you're foiling in maybe 6 to 7. What's the max range?
Max range for foiling. I think you foil in 25 knots already in Lorient. In terms of wind speed.
Yes, exact. And the range to foil it's 6 knots to 25 knots, and it's possible because it's possible to adjust the height, and it's very important specification of the Befoil 16 boat, and it's important also for the security to adjust the height, and it's more easy to sail on a failing on the strong condition, 25 knots. Wind, yes, sorry, wind, and very close on the water.
And I can, you know, I had the chance to do a trial with a previous boat, the Befoil 16S, and 25 knots with gust, and we were actually foiling very low, almost not foiling, and we hit the wake a couple of times and went from 15 to 0, and I actually went overboard twice, and I was glad I had a helmet, and it's kind of the upper end of the range. But what's nice is to be able to foil in 5-6 knots of winds. It's a pretty wide range.
What is ideal crew weight on the boat?
Ideal crew weight?
Le poids idéal de l'équipage.
It's 125 to 130 kilos. It's a good range, very good range, and it's possible to have a nose more, go higher. And during a session with Emmanuel de Chapelier, I sail on the foiling boat, foiling on downwind with 3 people, and it's no problem. It's and the wind is 7 at 8 winds, and it's very light, and no problems.
How did your foil design improve your level of safety?
Comment est-ce que tes foils étaient dessinés pour être sécuritaire?
It's the shape. It's not an extreme shape.
Le char.
Shape.
Le
Yeah.
char, tu veux dire.
No, shape. And it's very different with another boat. It's very different on a Flying Phantom Elite, for example. It's a very dangerous foil because it's foil to sharp or décrochage intempestif.
Yeah, fast, quick loss of control, you know.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
it's not an extreme, a very sharp blade. And we're very sensitive to that in France, because I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, famous sailor Frank Camas, who was with Orient Express, he was sailing, preparing for the previous challenge, and he fell off the boat and cut his foot. And his foot was only saved by the fact that the tender was there and could heliport him to the closest hospital in Orient. After that, we kind of look into shape in a different way. This could become really weapons, so it's a good, really good question.
Sure.
Especially when they are carbon, you know, it's on the crew weight. So I was checking, it's about, the maximum is probably about 400 pounds, 440. At the foiling week, I saw Emmanuel taking a couple, and the lady had never, I think she had done sailing once. She was literally a beginner, and so it was 3 adults, or 2 adults and a kid. It's kind of ideal. What we did, we actually extended the trampoline length, so it's not F16 typical. We added a little bit of weight, but it was not critical. It has enabled us to keep the platform stiffer by extending the distance between the beam, and we have a longer trampoline, so it's pretty comfortable with three people. You can for a beginner like me, the only challenge is to go under the beginner foiler is to go under the deck sweeper.
I was
You
going
know.
to ask that. How does that affect foiling tags?
When I was doing it, what Emmanuel told me is you have the option to go either under the deck sweeper or in front of the mast, you know, depending on of the sailing condition, or if it's a jibe or a tack. Maybe it's a good question to ask the racer. How does it deck sweeping affecting tacking or jibing from a crew standpoint?
Yeah, it's not a problem. No, je passe pas devant le mât en fait. I never go on the front of the mast. I go on the sail because the carbon, the fiber is very souple. Flexible, yes. It's very flexible, no problem to...
The slat is flexible.
To go under.
The slat is very flexible.
Yeah, it's not like hitting a wall, or it's not obviously a Dacron sails, but it's pretty easy to go under it. Frankly, you don't want to go around the mast. I think maybe in very light wind and.
We can see on a video on a European ship during the jibe, me
Yes.
On the sail.
I go underneath.
Under the sail, yeah.
Underneath. Yeah, during the video.
Is it a race you won? This special race that is on the video, Eric?
On the video, yes, it's a race win. Yes,
We won.
Yeah.
we won.
That's what I thought. That's what I told them, so I'm glad you said that. Any other question? Yes, sir.
As a startup company, how many boats have you built? How many do you plan to build in the next 12 to 24 months?
Hey, great question.
And how many in Europe versus shipping to the U.S.?
So far, we've built probably between the first and the second boat about 60 boats. This boat, we're building a first, we have 2 right now, and we're building a first set of 6. 6 was is our goal for this year, selling 6 boats, going to 25 and 70, 100 plus. We've sold only 1 boat to the US right now. Most of our boats have gone to Europe. Few boats have gone to French Polynesia, to Tahiti, and the Caribbean, but all in kind of French territory. We would love to sell medium term, 2 years from now, 15 to 20 boats in the US, so we would have a base somewhere, and this could be the right spot. What we would love to see is either boats, foilers for America's Cup or AC40 crews who want to sail on their own or with a crewmate, or F-16 class. So I have a question for Antoine when I come back, which is to find how active is F-16 class in the US, and this we don't really know. Maybe one of you know. But
Used to be okay. I have an F-16. When I bought my boat, it was kind of dying here.
oh, so
Yeah. Here, but here, like Pensacola.
Here in Pensacola.
Walton, they all sold their F-16s and bought ACAS. And all the NACRA 20s in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I don't know where all the F-16s went.
So, I mean, and then some series in the US, there are fleets that are very localized. So there may be a fleet somewhere. That's something we need to find out.
2010, they were leaving here. I don't
Yeah.
know where the hell those went.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm an expert foiler and sales person, but this guy right here, he's probably never been on a sailboat in his life. So for him, I want to ask, how many hours does someone need on a regular sailboat before they would, advance to foiling, or any answers you have? And I've asked him the question, but I want to ask them the question too. For someone that's a novice like him, not me, how long would it how long would it take to get into, be effective, or can you go straight into foiling? And if so, what is that process like?
Yeah, very good question.
Yes, for the crew, no problem. Now, it's a very stable boat, and the skipper to connect. To know the boat, it's easy, very easy, and it's different for the barre. It's different for the helm. On a crew, it's easy. For the helm, it's different.
And starting with level 0, to be able to drive the boat, would you be able to? Is it the same process than traditional boats? In few days you could be on your own, or is it a little longer?
No, just a few hours. Few hours. It's a stable boat with the sensor. It's not a foil auto adjustable. It's not a V. It's a T, and T with a wing, and it's very different compartment. And I have a very I have an experience on Flying Phantom Elite and Befoil 16 carbon. It's another world. It's very different.
So relatively easy. As a crew, it's very easy. I mean, as I said, we had this lady during the foiling week who had never sailed before, and I'd never been on a foiling boat or only once, and it was quite easy for me to adjust. I had some experience with Hobbycat and traditional boats, but starting from 0 level, same process than traditional sailing, because it's T-foils and it's self-adjusted. So it's not L foils or no V-shapes or very challenging moths where you have to play with it and balances everything. This one is relatively stable.
it's a possible a different mode on two foil and two rudder. It's very easy, and it's possible to height level. It's you sail just one foil and two rudder, and it's a very different boat. It's more fast, and it's a boat for the expert. But on two foil and two rudder, it's very easy.
So it's quite of a wide range, you know. We can you tell how experienced had the kid, the 10-year-old kid that I showed a picture of him foiling on Lake Geneva?
No experience with a foiling boat. No experience. Just sail a small multi-hull, small catamarans. It's very little.
Yeah, so he had never foiled before. And how long did it take him to be on his own?
Just a few minutes, and it's very easy. It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's quite incredible. They drop him on the boat, and I actually took an image from the video clip. But you see him foiling for like 30 seconds, and you know, they're giving almost no instructions. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And so he had for little catamaran, you know, sailing school catamaran, 11 foot and optimist, but no foiling experience. So it makes foiling accessible in few minutes if you are a sailor, not few hours or.
Herve, question. You said Antoine was involved in the design of the ETF 26. What are the principal differences between the ETF 26 and the Befoil 16 from a design and an operational standpoint?
From an operation standpoint? Eric, and you've done ETF 26 as well. What are the difference in operation handling ETF 26 and a Befoil? I guess it's huge, right?
It's very different because ETF 26 it's a G foil. It's a V. It's very different. It's not a sensor on the front of boat. It's not the same boat. It's not the same. It's more difficult on ETF 26. And
yeah.
Yes, and it's not the same length. It's very different also.
Yeah, it's a big boat. I mean, when you see it on the parking lot, I mean, and you move the Befoil on this little trailer left and right, and they have a crew to move ETF 26. It's J foil and no sensor, so you have to adjust and find a very different boat.
Any other questions here?
Thank you for all the good questions.
So I believe in the old adage that nothing happens till something's sold. Nothing happens till something's sold. So if you take this boat to a trademark or to a sailboat show and you're in an inside building, what do you need in the way of jigs and fixtures and vertical space to set up the boat to display for several days inside?
Yeah. So were you at the boat show or the Paris show? Because the question is, I know Emmanuel was at La Rochelle. The question is, what fixture do you need to display the boat in a show, and how would you display it?
15 meters approximately.
Square meter.
Square meter. Yes.
Yeah, and fixtures just.
It's 3, 4 meters and 5, 6 meter. And on the length,
3 by 5.
3 by 5, yes. 3, 4 by 5, 6 meters, approximately.
The trailer, the number 7, with the trailer.
And you...
So 28 feet vertical and, and 15 by 12 by 16 footprint. We have little display. I mean, we put the one hull on the ground and one hull up in the air. We were at the boat show in Düsseldorf and the Paris show and outdoor show in France, and that's usually how we, the boat was also in Geneva show. Very easy to set up, and we have some features would the opportunity arise. Do you have ideas, or? Do you have ideas about shows, or?
Well, I was thinking about shows, and then often it's good on the last day of the show to schedule, after breaking down the display booths, to schedule 2 days time on the water at the trade show to demonstrate and take people for sales that are interested in buying. And then the second thing is, if the purpose is to not only sell B2C, meaning business to consumer, so that individuals are buying the boats, selling to a dealer that wants to sign up to distribute the boats.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell that in the US there's a little bit of reluctance for dealers to get into foilers right now because they feel the market is not mature enough. And so this guy in New York, I think his name is Selen Kayak, he sold one boat for us, and he's selling Hobbycat and RS and, you know, traditional boats, and he is interested in getting into it, but we had a lot of questions, people getting positioned for the future. People getting positioned for the future. They're distributors in the Midwest, in a couple of areas, San Francisco. I had discussion with the San Francisco Yacht Club. I have a friend who used to be the Commodore there. And there's interest, but it's like the market is not fully ready yet. Would you? But it's changing rapidly. And if we look at 4 years back, I mean, it has changed rapidly with the emergence of the wing foil and other foiling toys.
Yeah. I can't stop staring at this picture. It looks like there's linkage that goes from the wand to the center of the boat. Is there any linkage between the flight control on port and starboard, or are they independent? Is there any biasing or linkage where one wand is controlling both foils to some degree?
Are the captors independent?
Yeah, I would think they'd be fully independent, but you've got that, it looks like control
cable. Are the
cable
sensors independent in terms of control lines, Eric?
Yes, the sensor is independent. It's on one hull because to sail on a different angle with the waves, it's important, it's independent to have a good angle with the waves.
That's what I assumed, but you have that one cable. I kept staring at it, wondering what it was doing.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not, has nothing to do with the sensor. Other question?
Where does that value display? Like, how do you?
What is?
Where is the value displayed, and is it an average of the two sides, or which side that you're tacking on?
Purely mechanical.
No, for the height. So how?
Oh,
I see. So it doesn't tell the user. It doesn't tell the sailor.
No,
Okay.
no, it's fully manual.
Is that wand closer to the water it's either going to push or probably pull, looking at it, a rod down the wing and actually, but it's purely mechanical. There's no electronic to it.
And I think 2.5 feet, 80 centimeter is kind of the optimum, right? Flying height. If you would set the boat on only one flying height, would that be 80 centimeter or something in this range? 2.5 feet, am I right?
And 50 centimeters, 50. Approximately 50 centimeters.
So
yes.
actually it's lower, it's 2 feet. They are kind of the optimum with a little nose down, right?
Yes, little. It's a good adjustment to have a good control with the rudder, and it's good for the traînée.
For the drag.
For the track, yes, exactly. It's a minimum track of a rudder to sail on the nose, and it's good for the wind to stick the boat. Yeah, it's exactly. Good also.
It creates downforce. Yeah, it minimizes drag. I mean, obviously there's an optimum where you don't lose control, but there are a lot of pictures where you see the boats. I mean, actually it's almost.
The AC-72s way back in San Francisco, they were very bow down.
The AC, yeah, absolutely. He's referring to the AC-72 in San Francisco, also sailing nose down. This the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we are kind of exploring, I wouldn't say new territory, but relatively uncharted territory.
Yeah.
So.
And trying to make it production ready is.
Yeah, and
one of a kind.
And compared to previous boats, what I could say the main difference is having these two guys as having very engaged architects that we can pull at any time. Because VPLP was fantastic, but it's a big firm. They have, and to get their attention on a problem on a specific day or specific week is challenging. So Antoine had worked with Martin Fisher on these previous boats, and we thought we need somebody full time, and we need racers, 2 racers full time. So we need a factory crew, and that's making a big difference. I don't think we could make it without them, or it wouldn't be, especially for a boat that is also designed to race at the at the top level. Yeah. Well, thank you for all the great questions.
Thank you, Herve. I just wanted to thank you for coming to help us.
Thank you very much.
I envision many layers of collaboration between Sail Pensacola and Befoil. You spoke to the issue with the market immaturity for foiling in the U.S. and the problem that distributors and dealers face with uncertainty about that. And so I see that our idea of accelerating footprint in a different way, as we've envisioned with the Sailing Footprint Accelerator, might be useful for getting these boats and experiences into the U.S. marketplace and maybe catch us up to where you are in Europe. The other collaboration that I hope we can work on is with Antoine and our University of West Florida project to design a small-scale foiling radio control boat. We really have a lot of in-depth questions we hope to collaborate with him on as well. Who knows, it might end up looking like a mini Befoil 16.
Does that remind me, the university, which one?
University of West Florida.
West Florida.
Yep. So we look forward to that collaboration. Thank you, Tom, at the Jetty IoT for giving us the space. Thank you, University of West Florida Business College, for giving us all of the production capabilities and assets to be able to put it online. And thank you again, Herve, for traveling down here to meet with us, and I look forward to our future work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Tim and Sail Pensacola and Jetty for hosting us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Soon we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.